begin. We're beginning with Dr. Mohammed Ali Shomali. Go forth.
Thank you very much. In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, I am very delighted to be present in this webinar. I am meeting some of my very good old friends from the Mennonites and from other groups of Christians in the US. I remember a very nice meeting I had with Doug in Mennonites office to the UN, and the trip we had together, I think, was a Stony Point, if I'm not mistaken. So, and also Randall, I think we met in New York. So I'm very happy since beginning of Luke 10, when I heard from my dear friend Ed Martin about this initiative. I was very excited to get a chance to know more. So now here we are. So we are now in the webinar hosted and organized by Luke 10 and Tolou International Institute. And what an amazing team, unity of God and unity in God. I am very hopeful that I'm going to make new friends, and in particular, Elias Mellon, my knowledgeable partner in this discussion. So for me, the topic of unity of God and unity in God is very, very dear, and it has a history. It is part of my life, part of my mission, and I cannot exaggerate about it. Just to give you a little background, I was not trained or, taking any course on interreligious dialogue or Muslim-Christian relations in particular. But my seminary studies, as well as my studies at Tehran University of Western Philosophy, all helped me to look at a larger picture of how God has created the world and how God looks at us and expects us to be. So when I went to Manchester in 1996 to do my PhD, then I thought it's a very good time to also develop more familiarity with Christianity. My topic was not about theology, it was about ethical relativism, but I thought it's a good time I know more about Christianity as lived and practiced. I had studied Christianity in the seminary and also in Tehran University, especially some of the theologians and philosophers I have studied, but I didn't have that much personal encounter with Christians. Because as you know, in Iran, we have very small Christian population, and mostly they are in certain areas in Tehran or northern Iran or some Isfahan or other places in northwestern Iran. So it's not that in every neighborhood you have many Christians. So I didn't have that much experience of personal relation with Christians. So when I went to Manchester, I thought this is a very good opportunity for me. And we started exploring more. We made friendship with different groups of Christians, with Focolare movement, with Anglican Church, then with Mennonites, and with other groups, with inside the Catholic Church, with many groups. For example, with Benedictine monks and sisters, we started a very good relation more than 20 years ago. So far, we have had 10 rounds of dialogue, and we have published 6 volumes together. So I didn't miss any opportunity to know more about Christianity and reflect on Muslim-Christian relations from an Islamic perspective. So I was a practitioner, but at the same time, a person who is taking theology and philosophy very seriously. So I didn't do anything unknowingly or blindly, but at the same time, I didn't let my theology limit me. I said, I have to, go in this path with open mind, open heart, but at the same time be very careful about every every position I take, etc. So at the beginning, it was very clear for me that Muslims and Christians have the same God, the same origin. They share great part of their history. In a small book that I wrote for the first volume of Catholic Shia Dialogue, and then it was published separately, Mary, Jesus, and Christianity and Islamic Perspective, I have mentioned many reasons why I am very happy with dialogue with Christians. And I have mentioned many commonalities and many reasons for dialogue. So this was about, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, up to maybe 20 years ago, 15 years ago. This was my approach. Mostly dialogue, friendship, mutual respect, working together as needs arise. But gradually, I came to the point that dialogue is not enough. Dialogue is too little to describe the relation that God has made between us. We as believers in the same God, in God of Abraham, who have the same origins, the same heritage, we are not just supposed to have dialogue. In my understanding, I don't want to offend anyone, but dialogue is very little. I think even with your enemies you have to have dialogue. Dialogue is not something that shows friendship. No. As a human being, I think we should have dialogue with any kind of person. Even with our friends or enemies, we should have dialogue. Even God has dialogue with Satan. Even God says to Moses and Harun, go and speak to Pharaoh. Dialogue is very little, just is a basic thing for a human being to talk, to communicate. When we want to talk about Muslim-Christian relation, is not just dialogue. And it's not just mutual respect, mutual trust. It's unity. And unity is much more than dialogue. Sometimes I use this example. I say, for example, if you look at family and marriage, maybe a man and woman who want to get married, they meet several times, they talk to each other, they have, honest dialogue to explore whether they suit each other for marriage or not. But marriage is not dialogue. You don't marry to just, have honest discussion with each other. You marry so that you form a family. You make a unit which has now two pillars, two elements, but is one unit, not two individuals talking to each other or living under one roof. Our understanding of family is not just living together and talking to each other and respecting each other. It's much less than family. Family is much more. Family means that you are so united that for everything, happy or sad, you are together, you plan together, and you prioritize the happiness of the other part to your own happiness. So, marriage is not just dialogue. Unity among believers is not just dialogue. Unity means that our love for God is so great that under Him we can overcome any differences. Not forget, not compromise, not dilute about our theological differences, but we can overcome our differences in the sense that we may maintain our differences for a scholarly discussion. We need to have, theological discussion between different denominations of Islam, Christianity, and then across religions. We have lots of things to discuss, and that's fine. But we can overcome these differences in the sense that we can give them proportionate weight and significance and do not let them force themselves on us so that we cannot see commonalities. I believe, I don't know whether you agree or not, I believe that actually this is the way human mind works, which is good for our protection, for our defense, that we quickly notice differences than commonalities. If I enter into a room and there are 100 people, all of them dressed the same, and only one person is dressed differently, my mind will focus on that person. And I will observe that person. Even if I am speaking, I am just checking what that person is going to do. Because I cannot focus on 100 people. If 100 people are threats, I cannot do anything. But if one person among 100 is a potential threat, my mind tries to focus on that person, monitor that person, and be ready for response. This is part of our mechanism of defense, that we notice differences first, and we notice things which are changing than things which are static. But we need to train ourselves to get rid of this, because this cannot be for the long-term relations. Unfortunately, people who don't train their mind, as soon as they have 2-3 problems, their mind is focusing and locked on these problems. They don't see any commonalities. Sometimes we see some people, who have married, 20, 30 years, 40 years, then they say, we don't have anything in common. We cannot live together. How is possible that two human beings who have lived together tens of years have nothing in common? It means that your mind is locked on the differences. You have to unlock your mind. You have to open your mind. So, we have differences, no problem. But we should be able to see our commonalities. And I ask a question as a challenge. So everyone please, listen to this challenge. If someone shares with you your language, you become very happy. Even now, David spoke in Farsi. It made us Iranians very happy. Someone spoke our language. Someone is born in Tehran, raised in Khuzestan. It makes us very happy. Especially if you are in a very, for example, foreign and remote place, and someone speaks your language, you will be very happy. If you realize that he was born and raised in your own town, you become more happy. Or for example, if two people, support maybe the same football club, they are very happy if they meet each other. Now my question is, very fundamental question. If someone shares with you the same God, how happy you should become? First of all, I hope no one thinks we don't have the same God. If someone thinks we may have a different God, so I have just 1 minute explanation. I say, my God is creator of the skies and the earth and all human beings. Who is your God? I'm sure you say, my God is also creator of the skies and the earth and all human beings. So we have the same God. So let's be very clear. We don't worship different gods. We may have different understanding. It's very possible. Even people of the same faith may have different understandings of God. Even we have this narration that two great companions of the Prophet, Abu Dhar and Salman, they had different understandings, to the extent that the Prophet said, if Abu Dhar knew what is in the heart of Salman, he would have thought Salman is not a believer. Because Abu Dhar was not at the level of Salman to absorb and digest what Salman was thinking about God. So we have differences of understanding even from individual to individual, but our God is the same person, creator of the skies and the earth and human beings. So we have the same God. Someone shares with me my language, I am very happy. Someone shares my ethnicity, my nationality, I am very happy. If someone shares with me the same God, how happy I should be. If God is the center of your life, you must be extra happy that someone shares the same God. Someone loves God. Imagine, if you meet a person who has no connection with God, how much you feel sad that this person is deprived of connection with God. And then we have a person who is connected with God, a person from another faith or tradition or denomination, but fully dedicated to God. How happy you should be. This is a test for all of us. If we are a lover of God, whoever loves God, we feel that we are united with that person. So sometimes I say, the main thing is to dedicate ourselves to God. Then the second issue is how to do it. With good Christians, I have seen that we share the same dedication. Sometimes I feel some of my Christian friends and some of my Sunni friends and some of my Shia friends all are better than me. There is no problem in that. I acknowledge that I am a weak servant of God, but I can see there are Christians who are very dedicated to God. I can see there are Sunnis who are very dedicated to God, and there are Shia who are very dedicated to God. I can sense the smell of faith, the light of faith from these Christians or Sunnis or Shia, people from different faith background, but I can see that they are dedicated to God. This makes me very happy, and I feel very rich when I meet these people. This gives me a hope that maybe God has become central for me. If God is central in my life, if I am dedicating myself to God, whoever is a servant of God, I should be very close to that person. I end with just 2-3 minutes. One of the things that still, I don't say it's wrong, but it's very common, but I think it's not doing justice, is the paradigm which says, okay, I'm sure you have also in your own tradition. For example, for us, we say the closest people to us are Shia, because we share all the doctrines and practices, prophet, imams, all. Then the wider circle are Sunni Muslims, because they believe in the Quran, in God, in Qibla, in the prophet. Then the larger circle is Abrahamic faith, because we believe in the same God, many prophets we share, we believe in the resurrection, etc. Then people who believe in God, but not God of Abraham. Then people of goodwill. So there are circles which grow and become wider and wider, but of course with less intensity. This is a paradigm. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I think this is not doing justice. This is just theoretical. The real paradigm is this, that the closest circle are people who are devoted to God. They may be Christians, they may be Jews, they may be Muslims. Any person who believes in the personal God and dedicates himself and his life or her life to God is in the circle, the closest circle to God. Then people who are less dedicated, it doesn't go by the names, by the titles, by religions or denomination. It just goes by what is in the heart of people, and only God can judge. I cannot say who is closer to God or who is far from God, but I can sense that there are signs that some people are very close to God, because I have seen in their life dedication, and I have seen the results of that. I leave judgment to God, but I can, at least for good people, develop positive opinion. I try not to judge in negative way, but I can see good things and praise good people. So I see that there are people that have devoted themselves to God, and they can be Christians. They can be from another faith. This doesn't mean that our theologies are the same. This doesn't mean pluralism in truth. This just means to recognize that the centrality of faith can be a personal choice. Not every religious person makes this choice. And those who have made this choice and have lived by this choice, these are the people that should be the closest people to me. So if I have a Christian friend who has dedicated his or her life to God, and I have a person from my own family for whom faith is not important, he is not practicing, he is only thinking, for example, about money or business, which one should be closer to me? My family member who shares the same theories and doctrines but doesn't live a godly life, or a person from another part of the world who has dedicated himself or herself to God. Which one is closer to me? If I am a servant of God, this Christian is closer to me. If I am a servant of God, this Muslim is closer to me. So, unity of God is so important and so central that we can, under that unity, be united. Unity of God must be echoed and reflected in unity of mankind. And this is my brief, point about this topic. I very much look forward to listening to Elias and his take on this topic. Thank you very much.